Hello and welcome to the BI WizKid YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to look at the 5 key reasons why you need a solid data model within Power BI, and the reason why all the data professionals keep banging on about having a good data model. As well as that, I'll show you how to implement each of these components within Power BI as well, with a little demo along the way. Stick with us to the end of this short and sharp video, and you'll find out the number one reason why you need a solid data model within Power BI. So you ready for this? Because I'm ready for this. 5 key reasons for a solid data model within Power BI coming up right now. Hashtag Bo. So let's get straight into this. The first reason you should have a good data model within Power BI is for improved performance. Now, we want good performing reports, and so a well-designed data model can significantly improve the performance of your Power BI reports. And by reducing the amount of unnecessary data within Power BI memory, you can speed up your report rendering and improve the overall load times as well. Now, what you have to remember is that you only get a subset of space within the shared storage environment within the Power BI service, unless you have premium. And so you have to make sure that you reduce the number of columns that you have, reduce the amount of data that you have, so your reports are streamlined and efficient for performance. Okay. Now, within Power BI, how do we actually do that? Well, we need to remove all the unnecessary columns from the data sets when we upload them. And this is something that a lot of users do not do. You know, there's columns in there that you think, oh well, I'll just bring them through, they're just there, I'm not using them, but I'll just bring them through, they're just an extra 5 columns, an extra 10 columns, doesn't matter. But it does matter. It takes up space, it takes up storage, and it decreases the performance of your reports as well. So we'll look at removing those in a moment, and once we have removed them, they will start to perform a lot better. And the main thing is that once they are streamlined, this will be a much better experience for your end user as well. And essentially, it's those people that are using the reports and will be sort of focusing on and suffering the most, I guess, if these reports aren't performing as needed. Okay, so let's head over to Power BI right now, and we'll have a look at how we can reduce those columns. Okay, so we're inside the Power Query editor here, and I've got some data that I've preloaded. Now, this is just a simple sheet, as you can see, and when we scroll over to the right hand side, you can see we've got all these dates that actually we don't really need for this particular report. So I'm going to right click all of these, select and remove these columns because I don't need them, and I'm going to find any other columns that have null values, for example, month and year values. I don't need these because I can use the date table to get those, so I can remove those. And then looking through this rest of the data set, it's just taking a few minutes to actually find any particular column that you probably won't use. So let's have a look at this. There's another couple of dates here which don't really need, you can get rid of those. The only one we really will need is this one here, so we'll keep that one. We've got a weekday which we won't need because we can use that from the date table. So you can see how we're going through each of these columns and looking at what we're going to use and what we're not going to need, and reducing the data set and the number of columns right down as much as we can, because each one of these will take up space, take up storage, and essentially it's going to perform a lot less than it would. Now, if we go to the front end, you can see what it would look like. So for example, when the end user comes in, expand the data, look at all these columns they've got to look through, and what we want to do is trying to reduce that by removing all the unnecessary columns in that data set. Okay, so moving on to reason 2 for having a good data model within Power BI is for accurate reporting. Now, a good data model ensures that data being used in your report is reliable and consistent. This reduces the risk of errors within your report, and it helps ensure your insights are reliable. And that's a key thing when it comes to report development. How many times has someone looked at a report, seen an incorrect value, and thought, I'm not using that report anymore. It's incorrect. It's not right. We need to build that trust up with our end users and the people who are using our reports. So we need to make sure that we've got a good data model that gives us accurate results. Now, how can we do that? Well, clean the data. We need to make sure the data is clean. How many times have you seen blank values in a data set or in a report? How many times have you seen null values in there? The first thing that a user asks when they see a blank value, what's that blank value? So we need to handle those blank values. So we need to ensure the data used for reporting is clean and accurate. This means checking for errors, checking for duplicates, and any other inconsistencies that there might be within our data set. And the great thing about Power BI is that it's got some great tools. So it's got some great data profiling tools within Power BI that can help identify some of those issues and challenges that we're having and allow us to sort of fix those and deal with those within the query editor as well. So let's head over straight to Power BI right now and I'll show you exactly how to do that. Okay, so we are back here in the Power Query Editor. Now, the first thing we need to do is go over to our View tab at the top and we're going to check a couple of boxes here, Column Profile and Column Quality. Now let's have a look at what that does. First of all, you can see down at the bottom the distribution of our columns, but now you can see any single one. So if we look at this one, for example, I'm going to click on the header, it's going to give me the row count, it's going to tell me how many are empty. So you can see that 629 values in there are empty. Looking at this one, you can see there's 9 errors in this particular column as well. And these are the sort of tools that we get in Power BI that helps us understand these errors and these values, and we can simply go ahead and remove errors from this particular row. Now once we've done that, we're going to click on that column quality again, and now look at the difference. It removes the errors and it gives us the distribution and the breakdown for each of those. Now the next natural step in this particular process would be to replace these null values, but as we can see when we add a no data value in here, because it's the wrong data type, it's not going to let us put in no data in a numeric column. Okay, so we can skip those, and when it's aggregated on the front end they should sort themselves out. But if we move on to the next column, you can see there's a number of null values in here as well. So if we right click on here, replace the values, and we're going to simply replace all the null values with another value. But before we do that, let's have a quick look at the distribution. You can see there's 2 columns there. We're going to replace those values and say, okay, there's no data recorded. Just simply put no data recorded. And now if you look at the distribution of that particular column, we can see that the null values or the error values or the empty values have been replaced by no data. So let's move on and have a look at something else. Let's have a look at another column. So let's have a look at this one. Click on the header. We can see that there are some empty values in here, and we can go ahead and handle those. We can see there's a null value there. We're going to replace that, and we're going to say no data recorded here. Okay, click OK. Go back and have a look at the distribution again, and now we can see that there are no empty values in there and the distribution is perfect. And this is what we need to do throughout our data set. We need to go and handle these empty values, these null values that are just residing all over our data set. This is going to improve the efficiency of our report. It's going to improve the stability of our data. It's going to give our users more confidence in using the information as well. And that's essentially what we want from this process. We're going to improve our data model, and improving this data model will give us better reports and more reliable reports on the front end. And this is a very, very handy way, using these tools within Power BI, using the profiler, using the column quality columns, gives you key indications as to how you can sort of change your data, edit your data, transform your data to make it usable and user-friendly. Moving on to reason number 3. Now, reason number 3 for having a good data model within Power BI is for easier data management. A well-designed data model can make it easier to manage data, particularly if it's large and complex. And if we structure it in the right way, or in a logical way, we can make it easier to find and fix any changes that need to be made and make any updates to that information or to that data that we need. Okay, now how do we do that within Power BI? Well, we need to identify our dimensions and entities. And how do we identify dimensions and entities? Well, we need to understand the report requirements. Okay, so we need to understand what the focus of the report is. And we need to know what the users will be filtering by, what you will be filtering by, what you'll be slicing and dicing by. Once we understand these, we'll be able to create those relevant entities and we'll be able to manage that data a lot better. It could be location, it could be product, it could be customer, it could be anything. We're going to head over to Power BI right now and see how we can use a query editor to manage our data. Okay, so we're back in our query editor now. Now looking at this dataset, so this orders dataset for the store data, we can see there are a number of different columns that we can use in here that could be used as entities. And as we go through here, you can see we've got ship mode, we've got categories, we've got locations, and we've also got product details here. Now I know for sure that our users are going to want to filter, slice and dice by particular products because we want to do some product analysis. And so what we're going to do here, we're going to create a new entity from our data. And we do that by simply right clicking and creating a duplicate of our main order dataset. Now once we've done that, we're going to find our product columns. We've found our product columns and we're going to select all the relevant ones. And we're going to right click and remove all other columns. Now once we've removed all other columns, we're going to remove all the duplicates. So we're going to click on this icon in the top left of this table and we're going to remove duplicates. Now once we remove duplicates, we now only have one particular row for each product, which gives us a nice clean entity or our nice dimension. So we're going to add an index column for this. So we're going to click on the same icon in the top left corner and we're going to give it an index column from 1. And we're going to rename this to a new product ID. And once we've given it a new product ID, we've now given it a nice unique value. Okay. Now we have to remember to rename our query. So we can rename this query to something like dim products. So that's our dimension. And then we're going to go back to our order query and we're going to merge this back on here. So we're going to click on our merge queries. We're going to find the original product ID. So product ID. And we're going to click on dim product and we're going to find our ID there, and you can see what we need to make sure is that the matches are the same at the bottom here. Now once we've done that, we're going to bring our data through and the only value we need is our new product ID. Now this product ID links back to our entity or our dimension, so we can remove all the other product related items that exist in our original order dataset. Right click and remove those and we're left with the new product ID from our dataset that links back to our dim products and gives us a nice clean entity back here. Now what we have to remember is that this is for easier data management, and when we create our entities from the various options that we have in our dataset, it will allow us to handle this data a lot easier. So if we see any errors, if we see any changes in our data, we can handle those and deal with those in each entity or each dimension that we've created. It'll be better for our developers and much better for our end users going forward as well. On to reason number 4. Now, the fourth reason we should have a good data model within Power BI is flexibility. A good data model also makes it easier to change and update your reports as your data changes. By building flexible data models, you can reduce the amount of time and effort required to make updates to the reports and to your data. Now, how can we do that within Power BI? So what we need to do is we need to automate our processes. We need to make sure that when our data changes, it runs through the change process, it runs through the transformations, and it updates our dimensions, our entities automatically. And we'll look at how to do that in a moment. And additionally, when new columns come in or new dimensions or entities come in, we need to be able to only apply minimal effort to that to be able to create new entities and new dimensions and updates to those reports. Okay, that'll make it future proof and it'll make it easier to make changes and add new data going forward as well. So let's head over to Power BI right now and show you how to do that. Okay, so we're now back in our query editor. And now what I'm going to quickly do is create a new entity using this service column here. Okay, so I'm going to do exactly the same procedure as before, but this time I'm going to right click and I'm going to add it as new query. Now this is the same as duplicating, because the main thing we need to take from this is that we need to duplicate, or we need to add as new query and not use the reference option. Okay, because when we use the reference option, essentially what happens is that it uses the underlying table as the main source and then changes the query that is referenced from that. So what we need to do is take a duplicate or take a copy of that, which is what we've done here. Now I'm quickly going to create a dimension from this, so I'm going to remove the duplicates from there, and then I'm going to add an index column from 1, and I'm going to create a service ID for that. I'm going to quickly merge this back onto my dataset using my service and making sure that there's the same number of matches here, clicking OK, and just bringing through the service ID for this particular dataset. Now you can see we've got all ones going all the way down here at the top, which reference that same medicine at the top here. And we don't need this anymore because we've got a link, so we can remove that, go back to our service and manage our data model from here. Now let's say for example we have a change in data. What can we do? Now this is where I'm going to demonstrate the flexibility of this data model. I'm going to take you to the actual data source here, and I'm going to change a value of one of the services to a very cute medicine, from acute medicine to a very cute medicine. I'm going to save this, and then we're going to go back to Power BI and refresh this data to see exactly what happens. So as soon as we press refresh, you'll see that the data will appear in this dataset. Now this is because we have made a copy of the data, and you can see it's given it an ID of 1 and moved acute medicine down to 2. Now also, if we go back to our data, our main data set here, if you recall before we had a number of 1s going down as the IDs, you can see that this has now been updated and all of them are now 2, with the first one being 1, which was the new updated value that we've inserted into our data set. So you can see the flexibility of this data model is automated, so there's no manual intervention needed for when any new data or when any change data comes in, because the model will handle that and it will effectively change that going forward. So we'll always have an extensible and a flexible model going forward. Now the fifth and final reason you should have a solid data model within Power BI, and it's probably the number one reason, is for better insights. By structuring your data in a way that makes it easier to analyze and explore, you can uncover patterns and trends that might not be immediately visible within your sort of Power BI report. Now what this can do is can help you make better decisions, improve your business outcomes, lead more accurate, comprehensive and efficient insights as well. In addition, and one of the main things that people don't know, is that it adds fuel to the AI functionality available within Power BI. But how do we do this? One of the main things that we need to do is create a star schema. And using the techniques that we've been through in this video, we need to create the perfect data model for Power BI. And there should be a link here somewhere if you need to go away and look at how to create a perfect data model to Power BI. I've got a video that does exactly that. Now what this does, what you need to do with your data model, is reduce the number of relationships and the number of jumps between your tables, which allows Power BI to jump in and out through a single relationship and access all of those dimensions and entities that exist within the data model. And what that does will utilize the AI functions, and it'll help explore your data on the fly as well. Okay, so let's go over to Power BI and have a look how this creates some magic. Okay, so we're back in Power BI now, and this is our star schema that we were talking about. Now you can see that this is pretty much the perfect data model for Power BI. It's only got a single relationship between the fact table and the dimensions, giving Power BI easy access to all the data tables included in this report. Now we're going to switch over to the Power BI service and have a look at some reports and how does this affect the outcome and the AI factor within Power BI. This is a HR report, and I'm going to right click on this bar chart here. I'm going to analyze the increase here and see what sort of data I get out. You can see as Power BI looks through, it says no insights are found. Even though there's an increase there, it's got the data behind it, it just doesn't give me any results. Now that's because the data model hasn't been modeled correctly, and having a good data model will give you better insights. And if I right click on this inpatient analysis, analyze the increase, look at the 31.23% increase in activity count between the 2 months, and look at the analysis of it. It gives you tons and tons of information, data, background, visuals of everything that's going on between these months. And it filters in and out of that star schema that we showed you a few moments ago, analyzing each value, each column, each connection, and giving you the best data possible. Now, in addition to that, we can also analyze each individual visual. Now, I'm going to take this particular visual here and I'm going to pin it to a new dashboard. And I'm going to go to that dashboard and I'm going to click on this ellipsis here, and I've got the option to open up in focus mode. When I open up in focus mode, I've got an option on the top right hand side here that says Get Me Insights. Clicking on that button shows me tons and tons of AI based analysis that Power BI throws out. And look at these outliers, these scatter graphs, these correlations, these line charts, more outliers, really delving into your data and really giving you key analysis that you wouldn't be able to just see on the fly. And because we've given it a good data model, it's going to give you some good analysis back. And this is the key reason to having a good data model within your Power BI report, so you can gain better insights into your information, into your data, and allow for better analysis going forward. So there you go. The 5 key reasons why you need a good data model within Power BI. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Hopefully see you in the next video. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, share and comment, because I love to get back to each and every one of you as soon as I can. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.